On a scale of 1 to 100%, like how convinced are you that we have that technology hidden and just it's hasn't been made public? ET technology
That they have
stuff.
ET technology somewhere.
Yeah, hidden somewhere. Based on all your research, everything you've heard, seen publicly, privately, right? Just putting it all together. How convinced are you that that's real?
I live inside my own world of make-believe.
If you're new to the channel, y'all, and you like content like this, please hit that subscribe button. Put out a new video every day, 12 p.m. Central Standard Time. I do not miss a day. And please hit that like button, y'all. That really helps out the videos. So thank y'all so much for the support there. And of course, comment down below. What do you think of our conversation? Look, I'm so glad you came on the show, dude. I've been a fan kind of from afar, watching different stuff you've done, different stuff you're working on. That's what really attracts me to kind of, your journey is you're not just armchairing it like I do, where I just blab like an idiot and I don't, I'm just like the average everyday guy taking a look at this stuff.
It's a
But
good
you're
place to
actually,
start, though.
you're actually
Everyone's got to
doing
start
something.
somewhere. You can't just
Yeah.
jump into it like,
Well, I'll never be doing what you're doing. I'm an idiot. So, I'm
I
a
am
chef,
too,
man. I'm
though.
an ex-chef.
It's
So
some of these guys that I deal with are like on a whole nother level. And then, it's something that you chase for 10 years. Some guy will come in and just destroy um, in a matter of minutes, but
that's awesome.
it
Yeah, man.
happens. You
Yeah.
get humbled by some of these experiences, but you move on, you move forward, you find, you don't give up on that dream because, you could believe that we're all stuck by Einstein's theory of relativity that, yeah, we can't go faster than the speed of light. And so like, there's no way aliens can get here. There's no way we can get there. And it's basically like
Just
a
throw
prison,
away, walk away, right? Yeah,
throw
that's
it
it.
away and walk away because this is the physics. And, that was it for years on the, science channels and you'd ask the scientists and that was the argument that they gave for, decades since the 50s and stuff. So, um, you have to believe in maybe there's potential out there because man, we're not going to reach another star in our generation, in our lifetime. It would be like we'd have to build life support boats with lifetime ships, and where it'd be like generations would have to be born on the ship in transit to some distant, like with current technology, rockets. I mean, how are you going to get, even getting to Mars is going to take a long time and be very, very difficult, with Elon's technology. So you have to think of something more than the current norm, which is, where I'm trying to, encourage more people to do that. Because how are you going to get young people interested in studying physics if it's just like everything was figured out 50 years ago? Give up.
Give up now. Yeah.
Just
I
give
mean,
up
we
now.
literally wouldn't be here if we always thought like that, right? Like,
Right.
I
Right. We
mean,
wouldn't get anywhere. We wouldn't be here.
we yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, exactly. So you're like actually working on stuff, studying stuff, boots on the
Yeah, that's
ground,
the way
nuts and
forward, man.
bolts.
And the thing is with the technology that's come out and these programs and stuff, there's so much opportunity here, man. If you do have the technical knowledge, or even if you do have some ability to some skills to apply to building stuff, there's so much money that the government look at. They gave how many millions to ATIP just to and people just to look at the ghosts and dino beavers. I mean, think about if you approach these people with like a legitimate, some legitimate science and stuff. So we've had no trouble like finding people that are interested in, because there's a lot of Bitcoin people that made tons of money and they're like, well, what's the next big thing after crypto? Well, it's going to be like the next wave of this, some kind of technology or something. So I think that there's great potential here and a lot of this for investors as well as, entrepreneurs. But we had some of the APEC open mics. APEC's the alternative propulsion conference that we put together with Tim Ventura there, who moderates it. He's old school from American Anti-Gravity, this website that covered like all kinds of anti-gravity research back in the early like 2000s when I
Oh,
first
wow.
started
Okay.
getting into this stuff. And Tim's always been a good friend, and someone I've talked to over the years. And when we were trying to think of who could moderate such a panel like this, he was the first person that came to mind. But yeah, so
Yeah,
the
big fan of his interviews, by the way.
yeah,
That's how I know him.
yeah, he's get some really cool people together, and then ask some some good
He asks
questions.
great questions. Yeah, I was just gonna say, like, his questions are
He's
really,
so like
really
Tim's a
good.
simple guy, so he brings it just so down to earth for people, like, because I tend to get just lost in the details with some of these guys, and then I can talk for
Sure.
hours, technical babble that, like, and then I don't realize that I'm losing half my audience when I get
Yeah.
that deep into it. So Tim's really good at relating this to people, ordinary people, so that kids that are middle school students that are out there, like, they're looking at UFO videos, and then they find this stuff, and hopefully they're like, wow, there's actually something you can do with this. you know this stuff, this may be
Yeah,
actually something we can do about it, and do with
that's
it.
crazy. That's crazy. I mean, that's a dream, right? That's what anytime you see a lot of inventions have come from people watching movies or reading a book and saying, let's find a way to do that.
Star
Why
Trek.
is that so crazy? Yeah, Star Trek. I mean, right, we could go down the
I
line
don't
of
think the
different
doors at the
things.
grocery store did that before Star Trek. Okay, so
Boom. There you go. Like,
it happened
ways to,
because
yeah, absolutely, man. And
it
we
started
have to
with
think that way.
actors on a set pulling the doors to just show people, like,
And
oh,
then
wow,
boom.
wait a minute. Boom.
Now grandma doesn't have to open the door when she goes to the grocery
Yes.
store, right? It just psh, psh, psh. Yeah, man,
Yeah.
I'm with you.
How about
And
that
numerous
carriage guy?
things.
How is he going to push
Yeah.
those carriages in the damn
Oh,
Walmart?
he's done. That's not happening.
You need two
That's not.
people.
Yeah. Yeah,
Walmart don't
man.
want to pay two
Absolutely.
people. Are you kidding
Yeah.
me? They
So
don't even
let's
want to
tell the
pay one.
people. Yeah, that's it. That's exactly it. So let's tell the people exactly kind of what we're talking about. Because as I understand it, okay, I'm kind of new to this and what you're working on, but it's like, right, just based on the website name, alternative propulsion, right? So other
Yeah.
propulsion systems, you mentioned anti-gravity. What are
Yeah.
some of these
Well,
things
there's
that
been
you're
tons of people over the years, like Stephen Greer, Michael Schratt, even Philip Corso, a number of people who over the years have said, yeah, that they've got anti-gravity craft, that these things are flying saucers. So is that possible? Did they figure it out? So
but what does
we
that mean exactly? Like when I hear
yeah, I
anti-gravity, what
know
what
that's
do
like
you
a
mean by
misnomer,
that?
and a lot of scientists, it's like a turnoff term, like cold fusion. It's like, well, you can't have fusion without some kind of action, but then they realize that temperature on the quantum scale is different than temperature as we think about it on in stars and large scale
Yeah.
dynamic systems. So there's ways, there's even negative temperature on the quantum level. So there's a whole different interpretation of what temperature is. So the whole idea of cold fusion is on a lattice assisted nuclear reaction is a much better term, which is the term more commonly used now for it. But that's
Wait,
considered pseudoscience.
that's the better term to use. I didn't even understand what you just said. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
like there needs to be a better PR term than lattice something. I don't know
Yeah,
what you
it's
just
called
said.
LANR or LENR, lattice assisted nuclear reaction or low energy nuclear reaction. So a lattice assisted means that it's basically the lattice of the palladium metal, and then they put
Okay, okay.
palladium metal in this heavy water, which is it's like deuterium oxide. Instead of H2O, it's D2O, and it's like hydrogen with an extra neutron. So it's a little bit heavier. Still get the same
I've
charge.
heard of this on Brian Keating's show one time.
Yeah.
I heard him talk
And
about
then
that.
all that is forced in electrolytically, it's forced into that cathode until you get like 80 or 90% loading. And then once it's loaded to that 90% saturation level, the particles become so like close to each other and packed that they actually quantum tunnel past the Coulomb barrier. So you have fusion without that Coulomb barrier that's how it breaks the Coulomb barrier, by packing them all tightly enough in the lattice. And then they found it's even better when you put these waves across the lattice, called
What's the
super
Coulomb barrier? What does that mean?
Coulomb. So
Coulomb.
Coulomb is the force of repulsion between electric charges. So like the electric charge of the nucleus is positive 1, and the electric charge of the electron is negative 1. And then the
Okay.
force between those is equal to, this Coulomb force, which is F sub C, Coulomb constant, times the sum of the charges divided by the square of the radius between them. But so the distance apart is, the closer they get together, the higher the force is, and the further apart, the lower the force is. Kind of like magnets, you bring them close
Okay.
together, they get,
Got it. Okay.
So the Coulomb
And
force
so what? So sorry.
is
Go ahead.
this.
Please.
So in two atoms, you have two the electrons in the outer clouds repel each other because they're both negative. So if you try to move the atoms closer to each other, that exterior shell kind of prevents you from pushing the atoms together and creating spontaneous fusion. It's kind of like an eggshell that needs to be broken. And so
Got
that's
it.
the Coulomb barrier. So you need to break
Got it.
the Coulomb barrier in order to get those two nuclei to get past that distance, and then the strong force takes over through quantum action. And so there's a way to cheat quantum particles into doing this inside of metal lattices like palladium lattices, and using these waves. And there's this model of called the hydroton model, where you have strings of these deuterium atoms, which actually bump together and bump against each other and form these wave-like pattern strings inside the material. And at those nodal points is where the fusion will sometimes occur spontaneously, where it gets, if you got to slam from both sides, it works the most efficiently, and you get this sort of peak in the middle, and that peak will create fusion. And then the fusion, rather than being distributed as a photon, because normally when you fuse two things together, it creates a ton of energy, and that energy is released. It actually releases gamma rays, according to the equations,
Okay.
which is what the skeptics like Hosienga and others have said. Oh, well, there's no way you can have created fusion, because Pons and Fleischmann would have been killed in their laboratory, the two scientists who discovered it in the 80s, and
From the gamma rays.
they said the gamma rays would have killed them in the laboratory,
Yeah.
So where are the gammas if you really created fusion? So it's
Sure.
impossible.
Okay.
So these scientists at MIT, Hagelstein, Peter Hagelstein, I have a bunch of videos. I went and interviewed them, and went to lectures and filmed the lectures and stuff, going into all this stuff years ago for people that really want to dive deep on all the physics of it and the science of it. But I believe that they're using, seawater has deuterium in it. It has a small amount of deuterium, and even hydrogen might be possible with higher energy systems and better materials. You might be able to get fusion with just regular hydrogen. The sun uses hydrogen. That's where all of our power comes from on Earth. Even our fossil fuels is stored solar energy from suns thousands and millions of years ago. Supposedly, according to the main predominant theory. So yeah, you have sun and hydrogen. I think that this is, have lots of UFO reports of UFOs going into beds of water and staying there for periods of time before, resurfacing and leaving. Shag Harbor incident in Nova Scotia. There's a number of places like Puerto Rican Trench off the coast of Puerto Rico. There's a place off the coast of Catalina Island where a number of sightings. So they have sightings of these UFOs going in and out of the water. Could they be potentially harvesting the deuterium or seawater and using that to fuel their ships? Because you could potentially distill all that seawater out and then use that as fuel through cold fusion quite effectively. It seems plausible. And then also these
Interesting.
the idea about, back to the whole idea of these gammas and why they're not created gammas, is that Hagelstein, the MIT scientist, came up with this theory that it's actually distributed to the lattice as a phonon rather than a photon, which a photon is a vibration in the electromagnetic wave, the electromagnetic field. Whereas a phonon is a vibration in the lattice structure of that metal. So like the atoms of the metal essentially absorb
Got it.
that
So you don't
energy.
feel anything, like a bulletproof vest, like Kevlar of some sort.
Yeah,
No,
and it's
maybe.
also, it does weird transmutation effects to the metals too. Like you get the metal will start, turning into, it will gain a proton, or sometimes like because this chain reaction will go off, and particles just start going flying everywhere, and then they stick to other things, and weird stuff starts happening on the quantum scale when you get to real high energy levels.
Yeah. That's interesting. So they proved that basically they wouldn't have died from gamma rays, is what you're saying.
Yeah, well, he didn't prove that they wouldn't have died of gamma rays. Rather, he offers an alternative explanation for why they didn't die of gamma rays.
Okay, I see. I
So,
see. Yeah.
um,
And so is Cold Fleet, is this something that you and
and
your
then,
team have been working on for propulsion, cold
well, no, that's
fusion?
the energy part. So once you have
Okay.
energy, propulsion's not a problem. I mean, you can. They basically said, we don't. When they were creating the F-117, with all those flat sides to make it stealth, the
Yeah.
stealth, they has all those flat panels in it. They basically said, you give it enough propulsion, we can make a refrigerator fly. So they don't care about that. And if you have enough energy, you don't care about the propulsion system, because you can just direct the energy the right place, and you have propulsion. So yeah, I think energy is actually the bigger problem than the propulsion itself, even though both
But
were.
also harnessing that energy, right? Because you can't just, what mechanism it comes out of, and the body, if it's somebody's in it, like how to protect them, how to protect the structure,
Yeah, the
right? Because
shielding, yeah.
otherwise, it's like the atom bomb, right? Okay, you figured out we can smash atoms. I mean, I'm sure
That's
I'm getting
interesting. The
that right,
shielding thing
but
came
how do
up
you come up
today.
with the mechanism for it, right? Like the car, you have an engine, but what do we build around that engine,
Yeah, yeah.
right? So is that kind of the idea that you're talking about? Like,
There's a bunch of ideas that we're talking about and experimenting with and doing research on. So there's another idea. This scientist named Gerbenikov came up with this idea that beetle wings, actually the top layer is made of a different material than the wing itself, and they're actually metamaterials, because the chitin in the beetle wing is actually is a metamaterial. It
wow.
can actually, it's made of pure organic materials, like hydrocarbons and stuff, and arranged on, because of the nanostructure in which it's arranged, you can get it to look, the wings look clear, right? The shell
Yeah.
can look gold, it can look metallic, it can look silver, it can look like copper, it can look like pure metal and reflect light in the same way that a metal would, but it's made of the
Wow.
same stuff as the wings, which are clear, but then they're slightly different.
Like, how is that possible? Like,
Yeah, and
that's crazy.
then the triboelectric constants of the two materials are on opposite sides of the scale. So triboelectric effect is what happens when you rub a balloon on your cat, right?
Yeah. Okay.
You rub a balloon on your head and then you stick it to the ceiling, right? So your hair acts as the thing that steals the electrons, because there's lots of things to take. There's lots of strands of hair, so like tens of thousands of strands of hair rubbing against the surface of that balloon, and it's taking all the electrons.
Got
And
it. Oh, okay.
or maybe is it depositing them? I think it's actually taking the electrons off of it, and then that's actually charging the balloon negatively or positively. I think it's actually it's reversed for some reason. They screw it all up positive, like the current flows in the opposite direction of the from and all that. It's all messed up. But anyways, certain materials will steal electrons and certain materials will lose electrons,
Yeah.
so you have this triboelectric effect. And there's this whole idea that the beetle wings act as this asymmetric capacitor, which that's Biefeld-Brown effect. Actually, they think that you get a small amount of lift when you have these asymmetric capacitors working on things. That's
Okay.
this whole idea that maybe beetles have a little bit of extra propulsion in them, and other insects might use this sort of effect too for propulsion.
That's kind of interesting.
Um,
That's cool. That's
well,
kind of
what
cool, actually, to think
you
about.
know that spiders can travel thousands of miles using using electric current. It's called lofting. The spiders will
What?
wait till the right type of day with the right type of effects. So it's got to be like a real dry day with the right type of currents and stuff. So it has to
Yeah.
have air current, but it also depends on the electric charge. They noticed that they did these lofting spiders. They went and took like an egg sac of the spider and released it in a room and did the experiments with different electrostatics, and they proved that the spiders would loft with the electrostatic.
What do you
Um,
mean loft? Like fly through the air?
where they spin this web, and the web actually gets electrostatic, and it lifts them up, and they can actually the spiders can lift off.
What?
They fly miles. They find these things miles in the air, and they can travel thousands of miles with using
What?
this
Dude,
electric currents and stuff.
that's the craziest. I never, my God, that is absolutely nuts to think about. I've never, holy shit. Is that why, like, if you're just walking a field, sometimes a spider just fucking falls out of you out of nowhere? You're just like, what the hell? That's what's happened. I think they're parachuting
Maybe,
down.
yeah. These are real
Essentially, I don't
small
know.
spiders. These are usually baby spiders that are, like in Charlotte's Web, at the end of Charlotte's Web, how
Yeah,
spiders
okay.
take
That's even
off and they
scarier. Like your first, you're just flying through the air. I wonder what they're thinking. Like,
so it's
do they
usually a
know
wing
like where
current.
to drop themselves down, or they just go with the current, I
A big
guess?
spider falls on you, it's probably like blowing in the wind on a long, tether from a
Okay.
tree somewhere, or something. But
I mean,
if
at
it,
that point, I don't care where the spider came from. I'm just like, get rid of the spider. But
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. But the idea that nature
That's
has figured
crazy.
this out, it's
Yeah, that's
has
nuts. I
figured
never
out and
heard that.
exploited the physics. So
Yeah.
we need to figure this out and exploit the physics as well.
So is there a possibility that maybe I'm dumb here, but right, that there's a ship that could ride an electrical current like that, like a train track?
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, think about how a Van de Graaff generator works. It's continuously running this band of this material, which is against a piece of like hair. So it's constantly charging up really, really fast. And then think about like, triboelectric effect. They're actually, I have a whole paper on these people that are trying to use triboelectric effect to power your cell phone, because they could say you just have these two materials that would rub against each other every time the jiggles in your phone would just charge it up, so you could
Oh,
literally have these smart
wow.
materials, or you have it embedded in people's
That's yeah,
sweaters, that in their clothes, so that
totally.
literally your clothing movement, the movement of your
Put
knees
your
back and forth.
jeans, put it in every pair of jeans on the
Yeah,
planet, and
you're sitting
bam.
there you're rubbing two triboelectric materials together every step, and that's creating, that's charging up your
Dude,
phone
that's
and stuff.
smart. I never
So
heard of that.
there's people doing these ingenious things, and it's like, well, there's all these low power energy devices and ways to do things. I mean, you think about how much current you can get just rubbing a balloon on your head, or
That's a good point. Or potato, right? When you were a kid, you did the potato thing. I don't know if you ever did that, right? Like to charge something, you plug a clock into it. I think when I was a kid, we
yeah,
did
you
that
can do
in
the
elementary school.
electrochemical with you take have to copper and tin or something, right? So like you have two different type of metals, and
Can't
one will
remember.
actually, one will be positive and negative. Yeah, that's like a chemical battery. It's a little different
Oh, okay.
than the
Got it.
actual, because the triboelectric affects actually the physical motion, which is, your
There's
heart.
okay. I see. I see. Okay.
You're basically taking kinetic
Rather
energy
than two
would have been
chemicals
lost to heat.
reacting and you getting the output from those chemicals, right? That's the
Yeah, that's a
difference. Got it. Okay.
chemical
Got it.
cell.
Got
So
it.
it's electrochemical. It's a little
Okay.
different than the physical system of you're actually taking some
Is
of the.
there a way to maybe combine those to have some sort of, you know, I don't know, you know,
Yeah, well, this is it's all about taking knowledge in these pieces of the physics and combining it in different ways. Like, oh, what about the cold fusion? We could have like cold fusion, and then your
yeah.
cold fusion's apparently giving off these lattice vibrations to the lattice, these high energy vibrations. Maybe there's some connection there, or a way to harvest that.
Sure.
You're taking these
Yeah.
vibrations and then
Nothing
turning.
gets wasted, right? Like in cooking or something, like you know, you don't
Yes.
waste anything, right? It all goes to a stock or what, right? If you're trimming meat or something, you know, I'll always make
Right.
food comparisons, man, just because that's my background. So yeah, that's
Whether you're
well, that's
or carving up a
smart.
mammoth, you know, nothing gets wasted.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, yes, yes, except not to get too dark, but yes, that is exactly, and you know what? That's not even dark. That's just real, right? That's just nature, as we're talking about.
That's just
What's the
old,
most?
man. That's old
I mean,
history, dude. That's
that's
old
old
truth.
history. You're right. I mean, that's a good point. What's some of the like? I want to get back to this anti-gravity thing because I'm so fascinated with this term and this thing because like for instance, I'm doing just a, you know, I'm doing a video on Michael Herrera that started. Have you heard of the Michael Herrera story? You heard of that guy?
Michael Herrera. So this, sorry, I could refresh my memory on this one. I could,
He was in the Marines in like Indonesia, you know, went on a like mission.
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Um
The guy that was on Sean Ryan's show.
yeah,
Yep.
he was on
Yep.
Sean Ryan's show and he talked about an anti-gravity, right, UFO that was not being flown by aliens, but by us. We had reversed engineer it from ET tech, right? And he's like, there it is. I mean, it's right there in front of me, right? Like this anti-gravity. One, do you think that that's something that we've already cracked and it's being held secret by advanced, you know, aerotech or you know, aerospace companies or our own government or another government? Or do you think it's something, you know, like you guys are, you know, sort of
Well, I
working on these
definitely
other
believe
projects?
the government, if that's real and legit, like some of these people, like him and Jonathan Waygan and some of these other guys said that, you know, they've connected it to that Virginia crash site down in Brazil, that was the one that
Yeah.
they to because of the dates, the times, and the locations and that match up to their stories, things like that. You know, it's totally possible that the government could keep this covered up. And would they ever tell us the truth? Absolutely not. Are you out of your mind?
I mean, yeah.
Never, ever.
Yeah.
And it would be hidden inside of a program that would be unfoyable, untouchable, and just so dark and deep within the government that it doesn't officially exist anywhere. You know, we've seen all the movie Monsters versus Aliens, right? No.
Yeah,
Uh,
I mean, no, you're not wrong. So when you hear that story of Michael Herrera, you're like, that could be, you're not saying it's real, but I'm just
I'm not
saying
saying it's
that
real, but
idea
they
is
totally
possible.
could. This government, with what I've seen, their ability to cover things up that, you know, I've been trying to expose before I got into all this stuff. They have the ability to cover anything up, almost anything. You know, I just feel that at this point, you know, even the Bob Lazar story, which I've, you know, gone, you know, I've been rallying against for years and pointing all this evidence, even all that evidence, as Ricardo Storti pointed out in the latest interview I did with him, all that evidence could have been manufactured by the government just to throw people off the trail, and they could have just, you know, they're that powerful that they really could in so many ways. But you know, delete
Yeah.
his educational records. I'm not so sure about that. He might, you know, even George Knapp admits he lied about that, or, you know, a lot of people lied on their resumes to get jobs back then. So it's
I've
whatever.
seen that clip of him talking at some conference in Europe about that. George Knapp, I mean, talking about
Yeah,
Bob Lazar's, you know, who cares if he fudged you know, that's basically the gist of what he said, right? Who cares if he
yeah,
fudged his records? He still did this, you know, whatever. So no, that is interesting. I do want to get into Bob Lazar here in just a second though, because I do want to talk to
yeah,
you about him because I think what you've because that's how I really found out about you first was seeing you on Danny Jones' podcast talking about that. And I clicked right
yeah.
away and I enjoyed the hell out of that podcast.
Thanks.
But I want to get back to like what you're working
Danny's
on
good. He
and
does a
like
lot
what
of great
you're
interviews.
I love Danny's stuff, man. I covered a
Yeah,
ton on Vetted, dude. He has the best one, dude. I can get the best thumbnails from his stuff. Like his lighting is great, his production is great, even if you just want to watch or listen to it just production wise, like it's he does a great job, man, for sure. But like what you know what you're working on, right, and some of these things. So you're let's just really get into like what exactly are you guys working on? You know, work, you know, yeah, I'm curious. I don't know. if I'm
Well,
wrong even there.
unfortunately, we don't have, you know, a huge particle accelerator or access to asteroid mining equipment. So we don't have any source of element 115 right now.
Yeah. Oh,
So the Bob Lazar experiment's kind of off the table until that
so you can get
happens.
that. Yeah.
You know, but if we can get the element 115, or, you know, Bob's, you know, can tell us where they hid that piece that he alludes to in that part of the Jeremy Corbell documentary there, where they go out off the record, leave their cell phones, and have to talk about the super secret element, you
In the
know.
woods, right? They're in
Yeah,
the woods. Yeah. I remember
yeah,
that.
the part, you know, and you know, that kind of is hard for me to believe because of the calculations that Bob did about the cost of the stuff. And, you know, like, wouldn't the government notice if a couple $1 trillion went missing, you know? I mean, yes and no. I mean, we've
I mean, that's the problem with the government,
things
right?
like
You know
that have
how
happened
like
before.
you know how everything is the government is just, anything you say, like, yeah, but that they are that messed up. They
So,
can do it
you
purposely
know what,
and unpurposely, right? So it makes it hard to like
dude, I just figured
argue
out
it.
where the 21 trillion went. That missing
Where
$1 trillion from the budget, it paid for that element 115 that Bob Lazar took.
there it is.
There it
Let's
is.
get let's get Congress on the phone. They
Dude,
wouldn't care.
the numbers check out. I'm
The
sorry.
numbers check out. Element 21, they'll rename it. No, so like yeah, so like what are
Yeah,
you
so anyways,
guys
what we are doing at the lab is a number of things. So there's been a number of people that have worked on claims of space warping devices. You know, there's this guy, David Perez, who's been on, you know, a number of shows on TV and before and whatnot. We reached out to him and got him to, you know, collaborate a little bit with us and share some of his knowledge and information. And he's got this proprietary technology called the VEM drive that he's working on with his own company down there, it was called Space Warp Dynamics, and now it's called just QED.
so
Or
what is what you said space warp? What is that in I'm sorry, Ven or
the
a
VEM
Vem?
drive, yes. So it's
Vem.
Basically like,
VEMM. How
this
do we
is,
spell that?
yeah, VEM.
VEM. Got it.
And it's claims of, you know, he shows data where he does interferometry and other data that he shows, like, that he's getting a warp field, man. And
What
this
does that
could,
mean? Warp field. I don't know what that
it's
means. Like,
basically like you're getting space-time is changing when you shine light through here. There's something different happens to the space-time through here because of the near field effects of these
okay.
these metamaterials.
Okay.
So
And so
so what I've done is I've gotten this circuit and I designed this in a circuit designer here in the lab, and I went and got them printed from a circuit board provider. And these are little fractal C-ring resonator antennas. So these are fractal metamaterial and 1D. They're linear because but there's two of them that point against each other. And the idea is that right in the middle here, there's like a sweet spot where we're actually maybe producing a small amount of warp field, according to the claims of this one scientist. So we're trying to replicate that in our laboratory and test that currently.
any success there?
Well, we've had some interesting things that have happened so far. On one of the upgraded designs that we worked with on these fractal antennas, let me just get this
What would
right.
even be the benefit of like, let's say that that's true and that happens. Like, what does that mean, and how do you use that, and how do you implement that into like real life?
So we get like the theoretical limit on antenna theory is that you get a SWR of 1 on your antenna, but we got a sharp peak at the resonant frequency where we get 1.05, which is above the theoretical limit.
Okay.
So it could be used to you know, these things do weird things to the geometry of space-time. It shows that the geometry, that the quantum physics depends on geometry of space-time. that, you know, the particle creation and production and all the physics that we know is dependent on these hypergeometries of quantum physics, and that by making these materials which have these, you know, fractal geometries, we're actually tuning in to the gears and the mechanisms of the actual universe, and being able to back turn them now
Do
through
something to him.
energy. So there's, you know, these hyperdimensional spaces that exist, and we can access those through these fractal materials, because the fractals are three-dimensional, our world representations of hyperdimensional objects, you know, so to speak.
Okay.
So it's
Okay.
basically like ways of tapping into hypergeometry and potentially. So we're testing those. I got a
Is there any side effects to that? Like any?
oh yeah, well apparently don't point it at your head. I mean, yeah, you know what I mean? Like
I mean,
I've heard some bad things, yeah, but there's been a number
fuck.
of people working on this kind of stuff that say like there's effects to the body and other things. I mean, you're producing a warp field, and there's radiation, near field radiation, which is and currently no far field radiation, which is good.
So don't try this at home, right? Leave this
Yeah,
to
yeah,
professionals
I mean, yeah, leave it
in a
to
lab.
or YouTube hackers, you know, who wants to
Yeah,
play?
I mean, yeah,
Um,
that
but
is a
yeah,
different era, right?
yeah,
Yeah, I get
proceed
it.
at your own risk, if
Sure.
you want. But yeah, there's lots of fun, these C-ring resonators and different types of resonators mixed with fractal antennas. We're doing some interesting stuff, because that's pretty much what the that VEM drive is. So I'm trying to copy
Is that the
that.
most like promising thing you guys feel you're working on, or what?
No, we got a whole bunch of other ones, man. We got a couple different people on the team working on different teams are working on different projects, and
Yeah.
there's you know, several people on the team, at least like 9. So everyone's working on, you know, a little bit different things, but we're also like, if someone has success with something, we then replicate that and hand that to other members of the team, so that other people can then
Is
replicate.
this all part of APEC
Yeah, this is like the APEC engineering
team?
group. Yeah.
Got
Yeah.
it.
So like,
Okay. Yeah, because on the website, if you go to people, it's a bunch of people on there, man. Like
yeah,
it
there's a
is a
lot of
lot
people, and
of
it's like
people
all the
working
people
on
that have
stuff.
been involved and been
It's
interviewed and
some way or
stuff.
another, right? Yeah.
And you know, it should
Which
be
is
like,
great.
we should separate that out into like a core group of like the you know, the people, and then the labs and stuff. Yeah. I'll have to talk to you about that next week.
Oh no, I didn't mean it like that. I mean, like it was
Yeah,
cool to
no, that's
see.
a
Like,
good
oh
point. I'm just
wow,
thinking about it. It's good because we're so deep in it. We don't get out. It's good to get an outside look at it, you know,
sure.
perspective. I don't do that
No, the
enough.
website's great, man. It looks like the website's great. I love the website. It explains a lot, exactly
Yeah,
what
man.
is
Well, I've
going
always
on.
wanted to dig into this stuff, because I'm like, I saw other people doing. I saw David Sereda. I'm like, well, you know, other people, Stan Dio, like other people that were, you know, Richard Hoagland, all the guys that were talking about anti-gravity and all this stuff growing up on Coast to Coast, and you know, everywhere else that I heard about. And I was like, you
So
know what?
APEC is it's once a month, right? It's like a once a month sort of live stream group event,
Yeah, well, we've got it down to like once, I think once a month or once every so often now. It was kind
more
of
or
running
less. Yeah,
too often before, so we kind of slowed it down a bit,
sure.
broke it up, because we were like, we, you know, quality over quantity, I think, is more important, because it was like we were just
I
to
think half
fill
my
in.
audience might wish I took that advice with my daily videos. I've heard that before. Hey Patrick, maybe just one video a week, dude, so that they're better. You know, it's like
The daily video. Yeah, you're killing yourself. I don't know how you do it, man. Like I could
well,
not.
I tell people I don't record every day. I just make sure a video gets published every day, right? And if
Yeah.
you're a YouTuber, you know what that means, right? So there's some days
I
I
could
can
totally just
bank a few.
recycle old content for and do that if I did it. But yeah,
But you get my point. It's just making sure a video comes out every day.
yeah.
That's really all it is. But anyway, so okay, so you guys start, but let's just kind of like what's a what does a standard event look like that APEC puts on? Like you sign in and it's a live stream and different
So
speakers and you go over different topics,
we try to get
basically.
like 3 speakers,
Okay.
usually, and we get 3 people to, we're always taking papers. If people have PowerPoint presentation, plan for an hour presentation
Okay.
with an hour Q&A. So it's usually like 6 hours. So it's like, a lot,
That's a real conference.
it's a full conference. So it's like,
Yeah,
it's intimidating for people that aren't into it and don't have 6 hours to donate. But if you really want to, like, if you're into this
totally.
stuff, man, that
Then it's
there's
awesome.
people that stay for the 6 hours, and then we'll
Dude,
for
of
six
course.
hours in an after party with me hanging out
Yeah,
at the end. I'm like,
totally. Dude, it's perfect if you're really into this. That's what you want. You don't want it to be an hour like you know what I mean? You
yeah,
want
yeah.
this that you're doing. No, that's great, man.
You do need
Okay,
to make
that's
like a
dude.
broken down, like a half-hour film or an hour thing, just and then every week I'm gonna start trying to like break down things into, and I do my own shows too, so I try to like break things down into like the most important stuff or the key factors, and I'll repeat that stuff during the week or in
Yeah.
podcasts that I do, like on
No,
your
we'll put, of
podcast.
course, I'll put all the links to all your stuff down in the description. I mean, dude, most people watching this are going to know who you are, I think. But there, there may be some
I
new
hope not.
people
I hope I get some
on the
new
vetted.
people,
Yeah,
man.
absolutely, I do too. Probably have some part of my audience that has never heard of you, and they should, check out your YouTube. Of course, you're known as the Alien Scientist. I'm definitely going to put a link to that Danny Jones interview, and really any other interview you think I should put a link down to. Let me know. I'll do that. That's not a problem. And of course, your website for people to check that stuff out, dude. Because again, dude, you're really, you and your team and whoever you're working with, like you guys are actually doing something. And I respect that a lot in this community. Anyone that I see like actually doing something nuts and
Other
bolts,
thing
really
we
just
do,
putting their
man,
money where their mouth is, right?
I have like a whole list of search terms that I did for like 20 years. And I just, every day I would search the internet for these certain topics, which I knew were
Yeah.
related to some of these classified programs related to the UFO stuff. And I would save the papers. And, so we have an archive of all this stuff that they would have erased, that this stuff disappeared. It's been memory hold in so many other places, like like it's disappeared from these places. But we like have this whole community that has of people that have tracked down and held and saved onto this, held onto this stuff. So it's that's the key part of this community, is that back in the 50s, this would have never been able to happen. And then the only reason APEC happened is because of COVID and the lockdowns, and that everyone was, starting to work from home or go through
Yeah.
Zoom. And we were
Yeah.
just like, this is great. We don't have to travel and rent hotel rooms and get permission from our wives to go to conferences.
And anybody can show up
And
to
anyone could
watch,
show up
right?
from, yeah, it was great. It was just like, this
Yeah.
is a dream come true for the whole information sharing and the conference world, because now we can have a conference every month, and we
Yeah.
can, like we can have it with everyone, and invite people from Italy, but invite people. We had a whole conference one time with just in people, scientists from India, and an Air Force official from India.
So cool.
So
That's
it's like,
awesome.
yeah, so we're trying to get like we're getting an international, and we're reminding the world that like this
This is a
technology
global
does away
thing.
with borders, it does away with wars. There's
Yeah.
no more like Putin and threatening a nuclear war. In fact, there's no such thing as a nuclear war, because it's Armageddon at this point with
Yeah.
the arsenals that we have assembled. It's total mutually assured destruction. And so there's no such thing as nuclear war, and the stuff that's coming after that, that the potentials, if you want to use it as a weapon, of course, who wants to kill on that massive a scale unless you're like some crazy psychopath, when you can use that energy to 3D print you gold bars and 3D print you to get find ways to, you have enough energy to get rid of all your toxic waste and clean up all your hazardous sites. We could clean up Yucca Flat and get rid of all that nuclear waste. But we'd have the energy, and then we'd have the resources, and now you can even build AI robots. So no more Helen of Troy. We're not fighting wars over females anymore. Anyone can have whatever they want. So I don't know. And then genetic cloning, who knows what's going to come in the future with the technology and everything. There's no more reason to fight wars with what we have access to now, as far as resources. It's going to make an age of abundance, and we wouldn't need to, do any of this. And that I'm sure makes a lot of people really unhappy and nervous and uneasy about themselves. Like
Sure.
the people on the hill there that, think that only they are the ones who can control and are responsible enough to manage such things and all that. People, the so-called the guardians of society and everything. So it's gonna be a different type of world with, I don't know.
How close do you think we are to something like that, like this technology? And
I'm
and what
hoping that
and
we're
what
close,
technology
man.
exactly are you talking about?
I try not
Like
to
when
get
you say,
jaded and discouraged, man. That there's
yeah,
a lot of these projects that turn up bust, and a lot of these things that, don't, check out. A lot of these claims that do not get vetted,
yeah,
as we say, So so like I'm all about vetting these things out there and coming up with the truth, man, and finding, so if there's some truth to this, we're gonna figure it out. And if there's any kind of reality to this, we're gonna get a team of scientists together to replicate it. And if there's anyone else out there, a scientist working on this that wants to blow the whistle, like an UFO Snowden, if you're out there, then we have the organization to make sure that he's not, a Corey Good, that, he's a legit, we have that ability now. And also we have the ability to get that information out there if he is the real deal, and replicate it and release it, to the world. So that's what I'm hoping that, happens.
sure.
I try to stay hopeful for that possibility that, maybe we have figured this out. Maybe this does exist. Maybe we are, we do have, the cheat sheet with the supposed crashed alien craft, where we do know what the future looks like. We do have, direct access to it. So we don't have to wonder if, Einstein was right after all, that the speed of light really is the,
The
ultimate,
limit.
the limit of the universe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, there's obviously a motivation and a reason that you're doing the work you're doing, right? There's some part of you that thinks there's something out there that potentially has this power and technology, and there's potentially they are doing it right now, right? Flying around. And I'm sure some part of you, right, thinks that that's why you're doing this work, right? Not just, well, let's see where we can do with this. Does it make sense? I don't know if I'm making sense with my
Yeah,
with
yeah,
what we're
it's, I mean, the friends that I've made over the years, the people that I've known and interviewed, just getting into this topic and making videos about it and doing YouTube. I mean, and
yeah,
it comes from Area 51, who were talking about metamaterials and quasicrystals in 1998. This was 10 years, 20 years before Lou Elizondo, and, coming out with the metamaterial in 2018, right? That's 20 years
yeah,
before
20 years.
before TTSA started talking about metamaterials and really popularizing that term in the sort of mainstream UFO literature. And I've been talking about these types of materials and the research programs into them for 15 years now, at least. And I was talking about this on MySpace back in the day. So, like, posting about
Shout
some
out
of this stuff.
MySpace. Yeah.
And now finally it's gotten to the level of interest where we have a community, we have conferences, we have funding. I have a lab now where I'm actually building these metamaterials in real time and testing them and building fractal and other antenna systems and stuff like that. We have we're working with another project here. This is called this is going to be a shive wave generator. So
Okay.
this will link up to there'll be a string through this, and there'll be about 100 of these along a long cable on a long cable. There'll be 100 of these devices, and they'll go like this to create waves on the string, and they're all programmable, so that we can program a code to break up the wave and into all the different parts along this. So we can basically send waves down this and then measure them in real time with the accelerometer devices on this chip. And also we can alter the this is called parametric. We're altering the parametric constants of the waveform as well. So you basically we can drive this using G instead of using the G over L kind of constant instead of the typical ways of driving it. So there's
What will that then be used for? Like, what's
it's
it?
going to be used for research into shive waves and also demonstration of certain wave effects and wave demonstrate like parametric.
So you'll if you have a camera on all 100, you'll be able to see something happening or what?
Yeah, you'll be able to see all 100 of these in a long wave, and then we'll also be able to collect data on that in real time,
Very
and then
cool.
adjust, and then also through this motion adjust certain wave parameters of
And so nothing like that exists right now.
nothing is like this has ever been built before. So
That's pretty cool.
there was a scientist named Shive who built the Shive wave machine, and he used
Okay.
it
How
was
do you
used
say, how do you
like
spell shive?
SHIVE.
Okay, that's what I thought.
And
Just making
yeah,
sure.
you
I
can
never
look
heard of
this
this
up,
person.
and it's used to visualize how waves work, and it was used to teach students how to do how the wave math worked in wave how wave math works. It's basically
Oh, okay.
it's a visual aid to teach you about the number, like what the
This could be
number.
great for schools, colleges,
Yeah,
right? Like
colleges
high
and schools
schools, dude.
use every. I wouldn't say high schools, but every like college physics department, you had a shive wave machine that would
There's a high
demonstrate.
school science teacher watching this right now. Go, don't tell
Yep,
me
yeah,
what I
back
can't
in the
use in my
70s, yeah.
classroom. You know what I mean? Like I want one too.
Yeah, maybe got
No,
put
but
away in the 90s, when they started cracking down and they didn't want people getting too smart. But I don't know. This is old school stuff. Definitely taught these things in the old
no,
class.
that's cool. And to visualize that and honestly, let's be real, just like anything you sort of come up with any idea, you'll learn other ways that it benefits you. Until you build it, you won't know, right? But after you build it, be like, oh, we can use it for this, and we found out this, and we got this. There'll be these extra, right, sort of ripple effect benefits that you'll get from it that you're not aware of even. So that's cool. Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah,
So
so
when is
our
that going to come
company,
out,
I don't know
or
that
when do you
you
think
can
you'll have
see
that done?
that'll come out probably hopefully by the summer. A couple more months. We'll get that out. I got
Oh
a
yeah,
lot of work into that already. People can check out the
excited to see that.
company. We have an official company now that we're doing business under, and it's called Sanrel, SANREL, and
Okay.
.com. You can go and check out our website. We have an eBay store right now. We're currently trying to get some products out. Right now, we're selling bismuth and silver nanoparticles in
Okay.
solution. And if I
What do
had
you
my
do with that?
laser,
Is
if you
that's
shine a
like
laser on these,
the
they glow.
Stussy symbol? Remember Stussy? What is that? I love that.
Yeah, that's that symbol, right? That
Yeah,
crazy symbol. I always
I
like
love
that,
that.
and I
It's
looked to
awesome.
try to see if any companies were using that in their logo, and there weren't. So I was like, well, I guess.
So nanoparticles, bismuth. What do you use that for again? So I'm so
Yeah,
sorry.
so
I didn't
you
mean to
can use
interrupt you.
there's experiments that can be done with these and there's different sources for them, but what one of the things I wanted to do with them is you just shine if you shine I gotta get the laser, man, and I'll show you. If I shine the laser on this, it glows bright blue, like
No
bright
way.
blue. And
Oh
yeah,
wow.
so you could make some cool things with that, like a night light, or I want to make like a night light that looked like Cherenkov radiation or something. But I got a couple ideas. We're trying to find ways to
I
market
love
this
that.
stuff to
Yeah. How to use it? Yeah, absolutely.
how to use it. So we have a little fume hood with some chemistry stuff, high grade scale for weighing out real things really fine. The fume hood for doing anything that is noxious or creates vapors and
Oh, okay. It like closes on all sides, I'm assuming,
yeah, well,
or something.
you can put another piece in front of the front, but it's basically just sucks everything through here. And this is a recycling one, so it kind of just filters it out. It doesn't actually
Okay.
have external venting here.
It's
Um,
like a fryer vent, right, above for me cooking, right, where the smoke goes
yeah,
up over the
it's
grill
like a
top.
cooking hood, so
Yeah,
just suck up
yeah,
the smells or any
yeah, that's cool.
smoke or chemicals and stuff. This is going to be the cable for that shive wave thing. This is just a small demonstration. We're going to set up like five of
Got
them
it.
along
Got
there
it.
for a small one. for starters, just to get a proof of concept going before we get
Yeah.
the rest of the
No, I'm
funding.
excited to see that video, dude. 100 of them lined up, dude. That'll be
Yeah, it'll
sick.
be cool. It'll be first. No one's ever done anything like that. So
Yeah, that's cool.
and this is everything's kind of a mess right now. We're actually working on a way to coat these are magnesium pieces of magnesium strips, and they've been processed to clean them
Oh,
off
wow.
and remove the oxide layer, and then we coat them with bismuth. So we're trying to make that bismuth magnesium layered material, and we're gonna try to make it to the spec that was in the books, and to the arts parts specs, right?
Has
And
anyone ever given you any UFO pieces to study?
yeah, we had Frank, who's the guy from he was on Ancient Aliens and stuff, and we had him on the show, and he sent us a bunch of pieces of the Roswell stuff that he dug up.
Oh, really?
Roswell, yeah, they have this team that goes out to Roswell and digs stuff up, and he sent us a bunch of stuff that we've looked at, you know.
That's interesting. He's
Nothing
digging
like
stuff up
super
at
cool or
Roswell.
interesting,
Yeah.
and nothing like that layered nanomaterial like that they had. I'm gonna work on a glove box. I got the gloves ordered. I'm gonna build a little thing just to do stuff.
Dispose of them. Oh, I know what you mean. Stick your
Yeah,
hands in and work
I'll
on
put the
something.
hands in with the gloves inside there to be able to work inside
Got
there,
it.
and do some stuff. We got a vacuum pump. I'm gonna try to build a chamber for that to do that Charles Bueller experiment. That's the NASA guy that came on APEC a
What's
couple
that
over,
experiment exactly? I
over
mean, not to get
Christmas.
too detailed, but what
It
is that
deals with that
exactly?
triboelectric effect where you can charge up your balloon. You know how you charge up a balloon, you can stick it on the ceiling, it
On
will stay
someone
there for
else's
a
or
day,
yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it will hold the charge. So there's ways, even these static cling films that just stick to the window indefinitely, just using static. So if you can charge these things up and then trap the charge inside them, then combine that with other effects, it can supposedly create an anti-gravity effect, and that's as best as I can explain it in layman's terms, real
Okay.
quickly.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it's one of the experiments that we want to do, and we're going to need to charge things up and then measure them, and we're going to do it inside this controlled environment, where we can
Oh,
put
yeah.
stuff in there with a bunch of like desiccants that will suck all the humidity and moisture out of the air, so that the static is really, that's when you get the best static, is
What do you
low.
think about the experiments that they do like in lower Earth gravity, right? Like I've covered Tim Taylor on my podcast, and like apparently he, does that going up into what do you say, zero gravity? Is that the right term, I guess? And doing experiments. Is that change anything? I mean, clearly it
Yeah,
does, right?
they kind of have zero. It's not quite perfect zero gravity because it's not like total microgravity. They do that parabolic looping, where they fly the plane up and down, and they get
Like
the
they do in movies to get the shots of people floating, right? That
yeah.
same
That's how they did the
sort
movies
of.
to get those shots and stuff. Is
Okay.
they did that, and that's how they brought Stephen Hawking up when they brought him up and got him to experiment
Yeah.
zero gravity. They got him to do that.
Okay. So that's how they're doing the experiments in that environment.
Yeah, they're doing that in that environment. I mean, some of the stuff goes on the space station, and that's like, that's way more microgravity because you don't have those little disturbances and stuff,
Sure. Sure.
It's
So
much
is
more
that really what it's
localized.
about? It's the disturbances that allow you to create something new that you couldn't create in I don't know, on Earth, right? Like in a lab. Like, is that what
Yeah,
it is?
yeah,
It's the
that's what they say it's
disturbances?
about. It's about all
Oh,
those
dude.
little, it's the microgravity and all those little
Oh my,
tiny disturbances that affect the way that the crystals grow.
bro, you're blowing my mind right now. I did not know. I just didn't know what, why it was such a big deal, to be up, but that makes total sense. It's complete non-chaos, right? As far as movement, right? Essentially.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, it's eliminating some of that chaotic fluctuations that can have factors in the
If you're trying to fuse something new or right
crystal
on an
growth
atomic
vectors.
level. Wow. Okay.
Yeah. This guy makes chips here. This is like a machine that is like, this is solder paste, and you
Okay.
can literally just make boards. And this is a machine that prints it prints the board. It prints like the components onto the boards.
Oh
These are
my
like
God.
strips
You need
with,
a huge machine to do that.
yeah, no, these
Jesus.
are strips with capacitors and resistors and stuff on them.
Oh wow.
One of those little things is a capacitor and or a
I've never
resistor.
seen anything like that. Like I didn't know how that was done.
Yeah.
Wow. And so you design, so if you want to build something like that, you design that in a computer first, right? In some sort of program, I'm assuming first,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
that goes to the printer.
I usually do KeyCAD. A lot of people used to use EagleCAD. I use
And then you just like control P print. It's like boom.
yeah, yeah,
Instead of on
man.
paper, wow, okay.
Yeah, I did this one experiment. I made some dollhouse furniture for the dollhouse, for the kids. And stuff.
Yeah. Oh, are these 3D printers, all of these?
Yeah, so you can just print anything you want on this, the 3D printers and stuff. So
Wow.
they're awesome, man.
I
Yeah.
bet.
Then we have a whole more of a shop upstairs if you want to see that for manufacturing. I mean, they got a bunch of stuff for making. They just have a drill press down here, but we got a whole upstairs. We got a whole metal shop, a whole wood
What do you
shop.
guys use that for? Like what is
You can use it for whatever. If you gotta if I gotta grind something or cut something or weld something, I got a welder. I got a TIG and a MIG and I got I got a I can go and weld steel, weld aluminum, I could but anything you want to manufacture or build, pretty much you can make up
for any
there.
project you're working on? Basically, that's what you guys have it for. Just whoever,
Yeah,
it's just part of the
one of the
part of the
things we
lab.
had to do is for the LK99, for example, is we had to take like a quartz tube and we had to put the stuff inside of there and then melt the glass and seal up the tube with the stuff inside the glass so that it would be like isolated and sealed. And then you put that into the vacuum oven. So you need the glass blowing equipment. So for that, and they got like a thing that you can do glass work and stuff up
Yeah,
there.
let's go see it, man. I mean, if you don't mind, I don't mind. I mean, I'm down.
I mean, this is just basic manufacturing stuff.
And
They
this is
got
all y'all's to work with, or y'all share it with
no,
other
we rent.
people, you know?
This is like a shared space.
Yeah,
You can sign up and pay money here to basically be part of this and use it all. And
that's awesome. No,
so they
that's
got
great, man.
cutters. This is the argon gas for the welders. You know, they got the grinders. There's a bunch of tools in that chest, like cutting metal cutoff
Yeah.
wheels and stuff like that. This is a plasma table. This is a plasma cutter.
Oh, wow.
It's a CNC.
Jesus.
So I want to make friggin' ninja stars. That's one of the things I haven't done this yet, but I want to make a bunch of ninja stars, man.
I love
That's
it.
the first thing I thought of when I saw this thing.
That
Hell yeah.
I need a ninja star. That's what I need.
I need some
UFOs.
legal shirt. Yeah, right. I would get arrested as soon as you have it. Aren't they illegal in most states? The shurikens.
Maybe not in
I think they
Texas,
are. They're
man. You
just
can
way
pretty
too
much do
dangerous. Because
everything.
what's the
I
first
don't
thing
know.
kids friggin' poking each other's eyes out with them?
We let you have tigers here in Texas, man. We probably get away with it here
You would totally
somehow.
get away with it in Texas, but not this
Yeah.
damn Yankee state.
Oh, that's awesome.
So yeah, I got a little
Yeah,
project.
man, that's a great
here,
station.
little
Great lab.
workstation.
Yeah.
This dude does all these animatronics, man. He teaches like animatronics and program. So he programs them on the computer, and he can have all the controllers linked up with like an Xbox controller. So
Oh, wow.
he'll sit there and
Okay.
control the face with the Xbox controller. He's and stuff like that.
Oh, wow.
He'll put them inside dolls, like so he linked this baby Yoda doll up so he can move it around and and have it do like animatronic
Wow.
around. This is like the kind of stuff that they use on the sets of those movies, and stuff.
Yeah.
It's good that he teaches a class on it here and people can learn how to
Wow.
do it. So
Wow.
that's
That's so cool, man.
that's how they made the Yoda and some of those other things. But yeah, this is the glass blowing
Oh, wow.
station, so you get the fume vents, so that kind of sucks it into here and filters it. Again, it's not externally
Wow.
venting, but then with an annealing kiln too, so you can anneal your glass afterwards. Some
Oh,
people make
wow.
some beads and some cool trinkets and things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man. No, that's so cool. You
So
think you
you
would
can make
you
glass
think you'd ever try to
petals.
build something,
I want to make a bell. What I want to make is, I don't think I can do it here because it's not big. I would need like a huge annealing furnace for it. But I want to make like a 15-inch bell jar to do like the vacuum chamber experiments. I want to
Oh,
make
okay, yeah.
a huge glass bell jar. So
Yeah.
that you put it on a mat and you suck all the air out of it. That's how they make the vacuum chamber. You need a real giant one to do the Biefeld Brown replication. Because remember how Jesse Michaels put out that film on Biefeld Brown, and he offers 50,000. So there's like a $50,000 prize waiting out there for anyone who can replicate that Biefeld Brown effect and show that it does or doesn't work inside of a vacuum.
So you're gonna
Conclusive.
try to win this,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we're thinking about it but we also know a lot of other labs that have these things and have access to the right equipment and are much more suited to do that. So we're trying to also hook Jesse up with those, you know.
Oh, okay. So you've talked to Jesse and trying to get him hooked up with other labs that may be able to help him with that
Yeah,
experiment he's
we've
trying to
I
do.
already talked to Jesse before that film came out. He credits me for showing him that Bonson Labs footage from Stan Dio in the
Oh,
film. So yeah, I
got it.
did talk to Jesse about that and where we are trying, it would be nice to win that money for myself and stuff, but the amount of money I'd have to invest into that just to win it back would be like a waste of resources, in my opinion,
Sure.
if someone
And
else can
time.
do it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah. Yeah. No,
And
I get
time
it.
is the most valuable resource we have of all. So it's if
Oh, you're
someone
not
else
kidding.
already is all set up to do this, then you know
That's cool. So are you saying that's going to happen? That you think Jesse's
that's
going to
gonna
go film with
happen
these
through
people?
we're gonna get that. We're gonna make sure that happens for Jesse, and the people that win that prize will hopefully share some of that money with us for facilitating, the connections and stuff. So
Yeah, I'm sure they'll throw you a little something, right?
I mean, 50
No,
grand,
but that'll be
a
cool.
lot,
That means,
come on, you can
yeah, yeah.
throw me
Come
some,
on. Come on here. That's how it works. We're in Wista. We're in Wista.
yeah.
Yeah, I think that's no, that's cool. Okay, I didn't know that. So Jesse will probably film with this lab and then present that in a future video, which will be cool. That'll be cool to see. I didn't know.
Yeah, that would be awesome because I've seen a lot of other people make, a lot of papers have been published on this, as I pointed out to him, and like a lot of people have claimed they've done this research and that it doesn't work and stuff. But Jesse really wants he wants to go down there and see it, film it, and conclusively vet it for himself. You know what I mean? Because
Absolutely.
that's the only way to do it. And I
Yeah,
have props to him for going through that because that's the right way to do it for real.
absolutely. Because I
Yeah.
offered $15 and for it, and it just that didn't get anybody excited. So Jesse was like, "I'll do 50,000." Okay, he wins. No, I'm kidding. I didn't offer
Yeah,
anything.
no, definitely
Right.
50 grand is a little moves people a lot
Come
faster.
on, that's well, most of us just don't have that to offer. I myself, I can offer a dinner with Patrick, which I don't think anyone would care.
Right. Well, he works for Thiel Capital. So I mean,
he's
like he
got
was up
he's
close,
he's got the
like
capital. Yeah, yeah. No, I work
he's
for Zero Capital. Is who I work for.
some decent capabilities here. We don't have everything, but
Yeah.
we have enough
Good.
people in the network where if there's something I can't make here, I know someone who can, so
Any plans to like try to build an actual UFO? I don't know.
well, that will
Even with
come with proof of
conventional
concept,
terms.
man. Well, the thing is, it's like I don't want to fly before I learn how to walk. Like
Yeah.
I gotta learn how to we want the proof of concept first, because you get that proof of concept, you have something to show, and then you have something to bring in front of the investors who can give you the money to go that big next step. And so you got to start here, and then work your way up. In my opinion, this is how it should be done. So
Yeah, makes sense. Totally makes sense, man. Well, look, real quick, I figure we just go out on talk about actually, dude, I forgot to bring this up. I wanted to ask you because I believe you were right. Are you with Falcon Space still? Does that group?
well, I'm
Am I
not
saying
with
that
it.
right?
They're affiliated. I know Mark. I mean, Mark's part of the APEC team and the group, so he's one of the labs, but I'm not working for Mark or
Well, the reason I'm saying is I remember a Daily Mail article a long time ago about like FBI agents showing up and like, do you know what I'm talking about? Were you there?
yeah,
Was
yeah,
that?
yeah. Josh, what's his name? Wrote that for the Daily Mail. Yeah, I remember the Daily Mail article about the FBI looking for. Yeah, we had taken a trip down to DC to go talk to Senator Gillibrand, and some of her staff members had given us contact information to reach out, and one of the other employees that was working for us at the time, you know, he said a couple things to them which made them a little bit alarmed, and so they had contacted the FBI apparently to do a little follow-up investigation into all these things that were he was talking about and saying, but I don't that person, it turns out I'm pretty sure they're schizophrenic or something, because they just like way too off the deep end with all the alien stuff and the saying he got abducted and contacted and they cut a piece of his organs out and all this stuff, and I'm like, all right, well, do you have any proof, like you have any evidence of this is why you haven't been to work for a couple weeks and stuff, and no, and then he's comes to find out that past employee was actually the one who would talk to the FBI and gotten them to whatever start this investigation into Mark's lab, based on completely, I think he's fabricated in his own imagination the things he must have told them, because it was just I don't know. It doesn't seem like there was nothing to any of that, like we're not doing anything with anything nuclear or radioactive. We're doing nuclear dynamic orientation.
Yeah.
So maybe the word, but you use the N word around Washington and it scares people,
People
who
get scared.
don't.
Yeah. So were you there that day when the FBI showed up?
I wasn't there. No,
Okay.
I've been working up here. But Mark, called me and or texted me right away and was like, yo, like, what the heck
Yeah.
is going on? And yeah, it took us a while to figure that out, that it was as someone internally that had, made that report and gotten, and it was a disgruntled employee that was mad at Mark, someone that was
Sure.
fired Mark.
Wow.
Apparently.
That's a horrible dox essentially, right? It's like
Yeah, it's like
yeah.
we got swatted almost,
Or
like
swatted. Yeah, that's what I meant. Swatted. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And I remember from the article that the agents made it seem like they were part of some UFO office or something investigating UFOs or something. At least that's what the article said, if I remember correctly. I don't
right. Yeah,
know.
they weren't investigating financial stuff, but apparently they had a Geiger counter and they walked around the building with the Geiger counter and said there's nothing hot going on in here, so they closed their investigation, but they
Yeah.
still wanted to come in and talk to Mark and do some kind of follow-up interview of some kind, which
Yeah.
is what made it to the Daily Mail, because I don't think Mark wanted to report it. He kind of wanted to just keep it under wraps. I don't think he really cared about it, but I made a post about it on Twitter, and I posted the video that he sent me right out there, because I was like just trying to protect all of us, because it's like we're not doing anything wrong. And if they're going
Yeah.
to try to intimidate us or bully us into what we're doing with disclosure and scientific disclosure and getting this information out, it's not going to happen. There's too many people that want this information out there. There's too many people that realize what they've done with technology, with the, the management of all our national labs, as I pointed out. Anything that gets invented gets seized and shelved. They literally buy out they buy out patents for all kinds of stuff, and they shelve them because, like JP Morgan said, if I can't put a meter on it and I can't continue that cash flow of money, then it's worthless to these people. So I thought that, that's all, that's how it goes with the people we're up against in this, that have shut this down and kept this covered up. The reason that this is all covered up is because there's too much infrastructure that's threatened by this. Even that interview that who was the guy that Project Unity had on his podcast, and he asked about
Michael
yeah.
Moran?
Not Michael Moran. It was the let me find it 1 second. I'll find it 1 second. If I it was the guy that no, yeah. Sorry, Andy Ogles, Congressman Andy Ogles.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah,
I
when he had
remember.
Andy Ogles on, he said, it's basically it's a threat to the world economy to reveal this technology, as it can disrupt energy markets
Of course.
globally.
Yeah, absolutely. Not just
We
that, right? The ripple effect, the markets it would have to every industry.
Right,
I don't think
And
any
so,
industry would not be affected by it.
right. So that
Right.
these people see that and they're just like, oh God, it's a threat. This is like disruptive
Sure.
technology. It's and that's the way that they view it. So there's a lot of people in the infrastructure, in the government, who look at this and say, no, we don't want to know, we don't need to know, we're not ready.
Yeah.
It's too disruptive to me
It's
and my
got to happen
billionaire friends.
gradually, not from
How
one,
are we going to pay how am I going to pay the mortgage on my yacht? If
Yeah. Yeah.
you know what I mean?
Yeah.
How am I going to pay the mortgage on my fifth mansion
Sure.
if you guys come in and disrupt my oil shares, okay? And I have to go and and I lose millions on those oil shares and my investments in the oil companies and the energy and the electrical grid, and all these other infrastructures that my friends make billions annually off of, and that would just go away overnight because we don't need them. We never did, and they only still exist now because these JP Morgan type people can't put a meter on this stuff, and they've shut it down and covered it up for 80 years now, is what I'm convinced has happened, because that's what so many whistleblowers have come forward saying. But until we get the technology vetted and show it, it's not confirmed. So that's what the lab's about. That's what the team is about, and that's what the dream is about.
On a scale of 1 to 100%, like how convinced are you that we have that technology hidden and just it's hasn't been made public? ET technology.
That they have
So,
ET technology somewhere?
yeah, hidden somewhere. Based on all your research, everything you've heard, seen publicly, privately, right? Just putting it all together. How convinced are you that that's real?
I'd probably give it 90%. I'd say there's maybe a 10% chance that that this is all man-made and that the UFOs have just been a cover for our man-made technology.
Our advanced tech or
Maybe a
whatever.
10% chance of that. But for the most
Wow.
part, I'd say I'm pretty confident that there's at least something we've recovered somewhere that's, we don't know what the heck it is or where it came from.
Yeah.
It's gotta be. There's gotta be, and then when you think about the history of the Roman Catholic Church and stuff, anything that was found in Europe during the Crusades or during the thousands of years of history would have been confiscated by the Roman Catholic Church, and it would be in the Vatican archives, and we would never see it. It's the same type of thing. It threatens anything that would threaten the official narrative, the official story, and what they want you to believe. Yeah, would absolutely be covered up. So I just don't think it would see the light of day. I don't believe that people can keep their mouths shut. Secrets can be kept, especially when it comes to, materials like that. They can hold all and keep all the gold secure in Fort Knox or wherever. They can keep this stuff secure, So
Yeah.
and
And they
it's
do anything to keep it secure if it was that important or that groundbreaking or that impactful, right? They
yeah,
literally would do anything to keep that secure. So anything
yeah,
you imagine, oh, the government would never do that. No, if it is what they're saying it could be, let's be real. There's no rock they wouldn't move. There's no right, like they would
yeah.
kill anybody, cover up anything,
Murder, yeah.
regardless of cost, right? Like,
Nothing's off the table when it
and
comes
that,
to that.
yeah, and that's what makes it complicated when you think about this topic, right? And you're kind of looking into it because any reasonable thought you may have, it's like, yeah, but when you consider the circumstances,
Right. That's why
anything's on the table.
with Occam's razor, you can't apply it if there's a conspiracy involved, because you have people
Yeah,
purposely setting up things in your path to make
sure.
mislead you. So
Yeah,
it's you add those elements into the matter, and it's no longer
the
the simplest
simplest. Yeah,
explanation.
correct. It's yeah, more data points, right? Complicates it. Yeah, man. I mean,
Yeah, I
yeah.
would say, yeah, I don't know. That's a good question, man. So maybe I'm being a little overconfident with the 90%, but I just think that,
I don't think so. I mean, you explained it well enough. You know what I mean? It's
yeah, I just like the thing is that the biggest proof would probably be, I like the fact that quasi crystals were discovered by a guy who did his postdoc at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Very interesting, these advanced type of crystal material. Then you have nitinol being discovered 10 years after Roswell at Naval Ordnance Research Labs, where guys from the Navy like Robert B. McLaughlin said that they brought Roswell material to the Naval Ordnance Labs and were trying to figure it out and reverse engineer it. 10,
yeah,
10 years before that, he said that he brought a piece down there personally, and that they gave it to the machinist who couldn't cut through it with carbide tip drill bits. He said that they just heat up and burn out on the material without going through it. And
wow.
yeah, so there's other people have come forward and witnesses over the years that have testified to this type of stuff. And then guy from Battelle, which is they're the ones who manage all of our national labs. They control they're basically the container organization for all the government's technology and metallurgy and stuff. So all the secret stuff from the Manhattan Project was done at Battelle. It wasn't even done at Los Alamos. A lot of it, like the Battelle helped with the manufacturing at Oak Ridge and other facilities, and they built the Demon course for the first atomic bomb. And
Wow.
so they've always been like way up there in classification and handling of the science and the material and stuff like that. And if we had UFO materials, it would have gone to Battelle, because they're a private nonprofit institution, and you can't FOIA them for information. So they're the perfect container organization for all this stuff, always have
Yeah.
been. And you have scientists that work for them, published reports in 1949, commissioned by Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, paid for the second progress report by Battelle in 1949, and it was authored. Several scientific studies were in there. One of them was by a guy named John Elroy Center, who said that he was given alien debris and told to work on it. He said he was given the stuff that he was like had to have come from aliens. There's no way it came from humans, man. It was so manufactured and perfect down to the nano scale that was like we have no way we could produce anything like this. Anyway, and he actually wrote a paper in that progress report commissioned by Wright-Patterson Air Force Base on how to analyze titanium alloys of unknown origin, but by dissolving them and burning them in liquid chlorine and then measuring the off gases to figure out what they were made of. So you're talking about,
Oh, wow.
how do you have a piece of indestructible material and figure out what it is? This is how. And they literally have the paper where this guy who claims that he was handled this stuff for Battelle, wrote the paper on that. So it's interesting stuff, man. There's
A lot of
not
smoke, a
definitely
lot of
zero evidence.
coincidences.
It's not a smoking gun. It's not like,
Yeah.
"Ha, ha, ha, we got you, you got aliens," but it's like, hey, there's people who worked for you in the right places saying the right things. And then there's this very circumstantial evidence that says that, you guys were studying these titanium alloys back in 49. You commissioned Battelle to do it, right? These weird alloys, a weird way to, and then also you spent 3 pages more than any other alloy on nickel titanium alloys, which turned out to be the ones that would be required to make the memory metal 10 years later at Naval Ordnance Labs. So these weird memory metals were reported by all these witnesses at Roswell too, right? So they talked about this like Mylar, but it wasn't Mylar. Bopet wasn't invented until 54 or 53, which is, after 47. So it couldn't have been Mylar, so what was that made out of? It was like, and then vapor dep, it was aluminum vapor dep on Kapton film, so that, there's all these, which is,
Isn't that what Diana Pasulka found, right? And Gary Nolan, right, on this trip out, they found this memory material from.
Really? I don't know that anyone's ever found the memory metal. That's news to me. That's super
she said that on Joe
interesting.
Rogan that, in her book American Cosmic, right, she goes with Tyler D, right, is his name in the book, but it turns out his name is Tim Taylor, right, from NASA. And she goes with Diana, him, and Gary Nolan. And one of the materials they found was frog skin like and memory material. And Joe Rogan's like, oh, like from Roswell, right? They talk about the Roswell, material. She's like, no, but it's not the Roswell crash, but like that, but the material is. Now, Gary Nolan denied that he had that material, because she basically said that, oh, Gary's got it. And then he denied that publicly. But she did say that on Joe Rogan, this memory material that they found at this, it's now been determined San Augustine crash site. So it has nothing to do with Roswell, different crash site.
Yeah, the plains of St. Augustine one. Yeah.
San Augustine. Yeah, exactly.
That's down
so I don't know.
west of Socorro, I think.
Yeah,
near
it's near actually Las Vegas, New Mexico.
Array. Huh?
Which is interesting. It's near Las Vegas, New Mexico, which is interesting.
Las Vegas, New Mexico. Yeah, it's where the Very Large Array is, right?
Yeah, exactly. From contact and all of that. Is that what you mean?
Yeah,
exactly. Yeah, and supposedly that's along the way on this trip out there to this crash site.
Yeah, and supposedly that's why they built it there.
See, what do you know about Tim Taylor and all of this? You know anything
I don't
about
know
this
much
guy?
about him, man. I haven't really looked into him. I haven't looked into Tim the Toolman Taylor yet.
I'm fascinated with the guy. He's in like all these stories all over the place. I'm just fascinated with this guy. He's never done an interview. He's the guy behind Chris Bledsoe, many other people, and he's just an interesting character. But he's connected in a way, right, with NASA and SpaceX, and working on, amazing things, experiments in space, saying he gets downloads from aliens, right? The idea is to do this from the protocols and downloading, and So I don't know. Just found that interesting. Does anyone on your team do that, or do you do? Is that? I don't know.
I've experimented with like the remote viewing and some of that other stuff, man, but I just had minimal success, and I'm skeptical of a lot of that whole business and stuff. So I just I'm more of a nuts and bolts kind of guy.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Get
you
a
know, it
whole
seems
lab
like
behind it.
there's a lot of people out there trying to convince you that we have more technology and more capabilities than we actually have, and that scares a lot of people from, you know, acting out or wanting to put themselves in. I have people that tell me like, "Oh, you can't possibly be real because how could you be, you know, talking about real classified technologies and doing real physics stuff on this? They and not be unalived." You know, like how you know, there's people that make these excuses for you know, how I could be doing that because they put way too much faith in the powers that be, and it's caused them to become paranoid. And it's like, dude, yeah, they're, you know, they're competent and they can do a lot, but they're not like all powerful gods. You know, they rely on a lot of this occult magic and you know, the symbolism, the weird esoteric occult kind of stuff that they do. But it's it's all like a it's all like a magic spell. It only works if you believe in it. You know, it's like it's 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 kind of a weird thing. It's like, yeah, if you believe in that they can read your mind, then you're gonna act a lot differently. You know, it's kind of like the experiment they do with the children, and they tell them that there's an invisible person in the room watching them, and the kids act much differently when they think that someone's invisible watching them than if they think then they think they're in the room by themselves. You know,
Sure.
it's kind of like they need the argument that we need religion and to you know, to teach kids that there's a God, because
There's
otherwise
someone
they're too
watching
hard to
you.
control. You know,
Sure.
so I don't
Well,
know.
I mean, I get that.
It's I look at some of that stuff, man. Like I think the remote viewing stuff was just put out by the CIA to convince people that they have mind control or can, you know, see inside your homes and or these more
That's
advanced, you know,
interesting.
things than they do. Because I just have not seen the evidence for it and the proof, you know, and when these studies are done under controlled conditions, you get much different results. And then, you know, they're very much open to interpretation too, with like a lot of this stuff. So I ran a lot of my own experiments on it too, just to see, you know, maybe someone out there has these powers and can actually do
Well,
this. And
Tim Taylor's saying like he download. I mean, essentially, and that's when Jesse Michael's video. That's what he's insinuating about Townsend Brown too, right? That he could approach the
yeah,
ball of light. He's downloading like they're not his ideas, right? And these scientists,
right.
right? Tim Taylor, he's saying
I
like
would
this
definitely
isn't
believe
my
that some
idea.
people get some downloads. I mean, look at the
You're
guy who
saying you
created
do believe
Star
that?
Trek.
You do believe
Well,
that?
the guy who created Star Trek, right? What's his name there?
What is that guy's name?
Why can't I think of this? Ray? No, Bradbury.
Yes.
Yeah, so that dude was getting downloads, right?
Yes.
Definitely.
You
He
think
had
so?
to have been, man. Where did he get? Where he just made all that stuff up out of his
Yeah.
head? Like you know,
Yeah.
there's
People
some.
make stuff up.
Yeah,
I got a
maybe. I
great
don't know.
imagination. I don't know. I have a really good imagination, man. When I was a kid, especially I get very imaginative.
So
I don't think that's
yeah,
that
I guess
far.
you can make the argument either way. So did these people get downloads? Because he seemed like he got, you know, it's sometimes people just, you know, and then Ancient Aliens wants to say that aliens built the pyramids, you know, and that we just put our ancient kings just put their names on them, and you
Yeah.
know, so it's who knows, man. It's I love the mystery,
Yeah,
but you can't
for
jump to
sure.
conclusions. You can't like, and then don't get set your heart set on a conclusion. Definitely don't attach your ego to any conclusions, because we're all
Agreed.
human, man. We can all be wrong about
Yeah.
stuff, dude. Stuff that you've set your
And
heart on
maybe
and
these
dedicated.
downloads are happening, right? Like both
Maybe
ways,
they
kind
are.
of, right?
I
Like it's
say,
kind of
you
both
know.
ways. Like it could be or not, like whichever way it goes.
You know, it's you have to keep an open mind and kind of say, you know, maybe the universe, you know, and maybe there is a God that he's just left this small open window for himself to exist in somewhere, you know, and That's like the whole, the argument of whether there's a God or not. Where is he hiding? It could be in the quantum physics. There's still room under there, under the hood, where some discrete energy source could be entangling the entire universe and acting and functioning, in a discrete manner that's totally undetectable by any instrument or scientific experiment. So it's
Yeah.
tough to say.
Well,
It's
like
tough to say.
scale. Do we know all of scale? Like we've hit the limit on what's the biggest and what's the smallest thing, right? And where do we fit along that spectrum, right? Does that make sense? So
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
who's to say where, you go deeper, even past quantum, there's more. I don't know,
Down at that Planck scale and beyond.
even past that. Why? I don't
Well,
understand how
there's
limits
nothing
can actually
detectable past
exist.
that.
Well, I
There's
just
something
mean,
there.
right, like I just don't understand limits, but I also don't understand not limits. Like the idea that the universe has a limit or it does or it's infinite, they're both crazy to me. Because the limit would mean,
Yeah,
well, what's past that limit? That doesn't make sense. But infinity is like, how is that possible? It's
yeah,
like, right? I don't understand, dude. In fact, my
yeah.
brain
Well,
is
it's
hurting right now just asking,
convergence and
just thinking about.
non-convergence.
Is that what that
And
is? Is that what that means?
that would be called like convergent or non-convergent series would be the mathematics I'd compare it to, where you have like a series of things that either, it's like a half plus a quarter plus a, like an eighth. It actually will go to infinity? Does it,
It just breaks.
or
It
maybe,
almost like,
no, wait,
right?
no. It equals one that equals one. So if you keep dividing in half and adding, and like that's the Fibonacci spiral that fills it in, and it eventually equals one if you take the limit. So it has a finite limit, but certain things will just blow up. They blow up indefinitely, and those are called non-convergent series if they blow up or
Okay. Well,
and go
yeah. I
crazy.
mean, well, point just being, I don't understand a
Yeah,
lot of
the
things that are
universe
out
is
there. So I
is
keep myself open-minded because of that, right? Like no matter how my initial reaction to something may be like, what the hell? At the end of the day, I'm still open-minded to it, even if my gut reaction is that's effing nuts. And it brings me to the
yeah,
last point that I want to bring up before we head out here, is just Bob Lazar. He's a
yeah,
figure
yeah,
to me that I got into kind of always was there. And I remember the Joe Rogan interview that really made me dive in, in a way I never did before. Didn't really know. And then the Jeremy Corbell documentary, I didn't know much about Bob Lazar. I mean, I just really didn't. But then I saw your interview on Danny Jones, dude. And I got
yeah,
to tell you, I'm sure like a lot of people, I was like, whoa, okay, this is interesting.
yeah.
And I dove in and but I go back and forth because even like you stated earlier in this interview, man, maybe some of this stuff was done to Bob in some weird way. Like at the end of the day, does it matter if he's telling the truth or not? Like, how does that hurt or how does it influence or does it make sense?
Well,
Like, I
if
don't
he
know.
lied and made it all up, it's still good that he gets a lot of people to come into it because he brings a lot of people in. I guess it's maybe a good thing in some ways, but then I think of all the scientists that get completely turned off to this topic because Bob Lazar is the only physics that they know and that they've really talked about, and he doesn't have much beyond the element 115 stuff. When there's
Sure.
tons of other programs that maybe call it compartmentalization or what have you. There's a lot more going on than just ATIP and just S4 or whatever have you. There's a dozen facilities like that all around that do this kind of stuff all
Yeah.
over. So it's um yeah, it's a fantastic story, and it opens a lot of people's eyes, I guess. It opened my eyes. I wouldn't have gone into school for physics or gotten interested in any of this stuff if it weren't for Bob. I don't think, you know, I don't think I would
That's
probably become an
interesting.
artist or a plumber or
Yeah.
something.
Or both together. No, that's interesting. I mean, that's kind of the argument. It's kind of like when I, grew up Catholic, then but not really, didn't do much, anything, wasn't religious at all. And then I remember at 18, I was like, I don't know, just searching for more, and I became a Baptist, you know, here in Texas. And I went head deep from 18 to 21. I was like, that's all I did. That was my life, I believe. And then I just didn't one day as I started to look into other religions and wanted, because I was curious about more. I wanted more and more and more. And I just saw a lot of inconsistencies. Then I started getting into Hitchens, and all of a sudden I'm an anti-theist. You know, I'm getting all technical with myself. Then you know, I remember interviewing atheists, pretty popular atheists on my other podcast, Lone Star Plate. And I remember thinking these kind of conversations, I just thought, what am I doing? Like, and I just thought, I don't want to be so disparaging to people that believe and putting it down. Like, you know what I mean? Like, does it even matter if someone believes in this or not? If it provides them a good life, right? So there's been a journey on how I handle that. And Bob Lazar's story is very much like that to me, in the sense that, you know, I'm kind of at the point where I'm just like, does it, what are the net benefits to it? And does it
I
really
guess
matter at this point?
everyone's ready for different stuff at different times, but the thing I don't like is that people only get that far and then throw the baby out with the bathwater once they see the debunking. That's just
Yeah.
why I didn't go like, which is why Danny, and right before the interview started, man, I was like, we're not going to do the Bob Lazar. We'll ease our way into that. And then we just went right into it.
I
It's
think it's the
just like,
first question he asked you.
no,
It's
it's just
like,
like, boom, let's
bro,
just get right
honestly,
into
that
it.
makes sense of your face, because you were like, whoa, wait, what?
Yeah, man, I was like, okay, all right. No, but it
Here
was
we
like,
go. Yeah,
we went straight into it, and it was like,
I thought
the
you did
first
well,
time we
man.
recorded for like an hour, and then we had to stop and we restarted because there was something wrong with the audio, and they had to figure out a glitch and stuff. They were using a new board, and I've had problems with the Behringer digital boards as well, with
Yeah.
this tick 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 tick
Oh,
on the, like, it
got it.
comes out for some reason. So like, I told him, like, it's that board, dude. Like, I had a problem with that same kind of board, so he swapped that out for the old board, and it got rid of it, and we restarted it. But yeah, it was yeah, I'm glad. That's why during that interview, I'm like, let's pull out of the bubbles. I want to talk about some other real technologies and some real stuff, so people
Yeah.
know I'm not just here to like naysay and be like, debunker and say it's all bullshit and you can't throw the baby out with
Sure.
the bathwater. And that maybe there's a reason that this stuff is what they put out there on Joe Rogan and in the mainstream, because that's what they can show people, because they know it's not real. And they know a lot of people will throw the baby out with the bathwater once they do the research into it and they find a lot of inconsistencies and problems with the story, like I did, and I pointed out in that interview.
Yeah.
But then there's more to the whole story than that. And then I guess at the end of the day, it really just matters about the science, because I could be completely wrong. And if they come up with a stable element of, stable isotope of element 115 next week, then I'll have to, take all those videos down and put a dunce cap on my head or something,
I don't think
but
so, man. I don't think it's that unreasonable, if I'm being honest. I think it's totally reasonable to hear a story like Bob Lazar and be like, that's bullshit. If that's,
yeah,
you know what I mean? I don't think there's
I
anything
didn't just do
unreasonable
that though,
about
man.
that.
I
A hundred
spent a
percent.
lot of
A
time
hundred
researching. I
percent.
I interviewed
Absolutely.
original people in the case, John Lear, Gene Huff. I've talked to these people.
Yeah, you did a deep dive, man, for sure, which is why I super enjoyed that interview. I super enjoyed what you said. You know, I'm
And I
just
will
saying
debate
it's
Jeremy
not
Corbell
crazy.
anytime you can get him on your show, man. Tell him I
Yeah.
want to
I mean,
debate.
look, I'm to me, I mean, hey, that's an interesting offer, for sure. I would totally do that, which would be interesting because I mean, I'm just saying it's a crazy story. I think to be criticized for being like, hey man, let's take a pause here. Let's look into this story. It sounds crazy, right? I mean, that's
Yeah,
why you want to look into it, because it sounds crazy. And there's
yeah.
nothing wrong with that. It is a crazy thing.
I
That's
looked
what
into it because it
ontological
sounded
shock
real,
is.
man. I was like, they could,
Or both, right? This is interesting. It's fascinating. It's the most fascinating story I've heard in the UFO. It has everything you want. We're reverse engineering. We're working on this tech, crashed, ancient, secret, cloak and dagger, right? Secret program. Like
yeah,
it has all the elements you would want in perfect UFO story, a body walking by a door, and I saw some, 10 craft in in hangars, and had different, one looked like it was shot down. It's got all these elements, testing the
But the thing is,
craft. I mean, come
everyone
on.
wants to hear about the aliens. They want to know about the aliens, dude. And
I
it's
get it. It's enticing, to be honest with you. There's an entertainment value to Bob Lazar. I think if I were him, you know, that I would lean into that entertainment aspect of it and go that way. I mean, at this point, you're in the lore. What's he, what do we expect him to do?
yeah.
Like
Well, they got
just like,
Project Gravator coming out soon.
yeah,
That's due to be released soon, and I know that guy put a ton of money into that film and everything that went
I'll
into
watch it.
it.
I'm sure I'll watch it. I heard some VR thing that you can look around. I mean,
Yeah, I'll
whatever.
check it
I'm,
out, man.
you know,
Definitely. And try to interview those guys as well. And I you got the inside scoop on this that Gene Huff sat down with Luigi and did an 1 or 2 hour interview for Project Gravator, which that's key,
I
So
like that.
that's
That's cool. Wow.
that'll be
Okay.
interesting. We'll just
Yes.
wait, see
Hey,
if
put
that
it all
comes
out
out.
there, right? Just put it out
Put it all out there, guys. Let's
and
do it.
and see
Hey,
where it lands.
right and the people that get caught up on the physics and the technical and the skepticism and stuff, send them right to me, because we got plenty more stuff to look at than just Bob. So
Sure.
like, yeah, I can't see it. I can't see it really hurting anything in the situation at this point. Any damage that's been done is already done by Joe Rogan with that 13 million view interview. So he's out there, man. He's and
It's
he's
whether
not
you
going
like it or
away.
not. Exactly. Whether you exactly, man.
And with
I
Bob,
mean,
whether he's telling the truth or not, still the idea is out there that the government has these programs, they have this technology,
100%.
and that these things exist.
Yeah.
And even if that is completely false, I still am not wasting my time, because we're, like you said, the guys that channel this information, right? Well, what do you think I'm doing? I'm believing that this is real, and I'm putting all my energy in that direction. What is that? I'm
Yeah. No.
channeling that. I'm channeling
Yeah.
the idea that this is real, and how can we make it a reality?
Sure.
Whereas, the person sitting at teaching college physics at the university, telling his students that this is all hogwash and don't destroy your careers pursuing this, where's he going to be in 10 years if I'm right? And I, you know what I mean? He's going
100%.
to be still preaching, flat earth, and the old, or whatever, antiquated theories. I'm sorry, I said the FE word on your podcast. You probably have to edit that out so they don't shadow ban you. That's one of those
Oh,
key words there.
I don't worry about that.
But I'll have to think of a better term, like, oh, plate,
I've got a
plate
new
tech.
theory, actually. Flat people. I'm just gonna let everyone know. It's my flat people theory. No, I'm kidding. I made that up. There's nothing.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding.
Hollow moon theory. No, but the whole idea is that we had antiquated ideas of the past that were wrong, and when the right idea came out, there was resistance to that
Absolutely.
until the people died
Of
off, and
course.
that was just kind of like how it worked
Of course.
for many
Everything. Every
nations.
major
Every
every major break in our reality of what we know, it was met with ridicule for a long time. You name it, right? Whatever, finding out that the earth is round, there's more than just Europe, right? Or whatever, right? However you want to look at it, space, and then our place in space, the universe, right? Microscopic scale, right? Diseases, microbes, right? Like this whole break in reality
right.
and at first it's like, that's impossible. What do you
Yep.
mean, that's
Yep.
happening, right? I mean, let's be real. So there's no question in my
Well,
mind
so
that
you have
this also would fall in line with that, right?
there's no way I can fail, because even if none of this stuff works, it will be like it's still progressive for all of people out there, because then people will see what doesn't work.
One
They'll
day it
know,
will work,
"All right,
though.
man," you know what I mean?
One day this
Well,
will
the thing
work.
is, do you think Edison built a light bulb on the first try?
Yeah,
And he said that
100%.
it didn't
Exactly.
fail. I have not failed. I've just figured out 1,000 ways not to do it and that don't
Yeah,
work. So
exactly.
it's
Yeah.
that's the way that invention happens, and that's the way progress happens. So that's the path that we have to take as innovators, to push the paradigm forward. Because
Yeah.
disclosure, and waiting on the government to tell its secrets and give the secrets up, it's the slow path, in my opinion. It's a fool's path, because it's like, you know, asking Sauron if he'll help you destroy the ring. You know, it's like, no, they're not going to give that up, man. You
I mean,
got,
100%. Yeah. God, dude, I could do a
yeah,
whole podcast about that, to be honest with you. I feel very strongly I feel the same way you do about that. 100%.
yeah. It's, man, we'll have to, yeah, let's get back on and we'll do another one at another date, man. This was a good one for now. And we
Right.
covered a lot
Oh,
of
yeah.
good stuff.
We did, man. We did. Dude, Jeremy, this was awesome, man. I really appreciate you giving us a tour, to see the place. That was great just to see what you're working on, man. Again, nuts and bolts. You're actually doing something. It's great to get your thoughts on a lot of this. And yeah, man, I can't wait for round two for sure, man. You crushed it. Thank you
I
for your
can't wait till we
time.
get success, man. And I can have actually something real to be like, look, this is how you do it. And you can buy it on my eBay store for under $10 and try it yourself. That's what we want, man.
Shout out all your, social, YouTube, email. I'll put it all in the description, but just, for people as well, what you want them to check out.
Yeah, check out the altpropulsion.com page, for the Alt Propulsion Conference. Tons of upcoming events on there all the time. If you miss one, you'll get live events. You can jump in and ask questions to these scientists and recommend experts. If you know a scientist or you're a scientist yourself, you can submit a PowerPoint presentation and get on with us. Yeah, so altpropulsion.com. I have Alien Scientist on YouTube is my YouTube channel. Got lots of cool interviews, and I also host the APEC conference on there when I can. And also sanrel.com is our SANREL.com is our business website. If you want to check out the business and you're interested, hey, say that, we're looking for people who do like really good 3D modeling, or engineers that can do CADing or circuit board design. If you're interested in any kind of thing like that and looking for a career, throw us a resume and shoot us a contact. We're always looking for talented, qualified people to add to the team if you want to help out hands-on. So and if you're not in New England, we have labs all over and people in contacts to get you connected. So reach out, and I look forward to hearing from you guys. And you can email me directly, thealienscientist, one word, @gmail.com, if you want to just shoot me an email with some questions, or you say you're a guest and you want to be a guest on my podcast or something. Shoot me an email, and I'd love to talk to you.
I live inside my own world of make-believe. Kids screaming in the cradles, profanities. I see the world through ice covered in ink and bleach. Cross